Hello all my Kenvians and welcome to a new episode of Snack-Kenn. Today we're going to be covering eggnog. Only instead of the weird little video that I did, was it last year I think? Anyway, I did a weird little video previously about talking about eggnog and how much I love it. And it's still true, I still do love eggnog, but one thing that I've found out is that there's a lot of people who don't like eggnog because, well, some for legitimate reasons. Some people just don't like it, and that's completely fine. But the first time they try it, they get the weird kinds of eggnog. Like there's, I want to say there's one that's extra spicy, or there's extra spices added into it, so it's like extra strong flavor. And I think there's one kind called holiday nog, and I think it's basically just the super version, or the super sweet version of eggnog. And that's really unfortunate because I feel like it throws a lot of people off. It's kind of like what I recommend to people whenever they want to try coconut water for the first time. It's like coconut water, for anyone trying it for the first time, it's going to be a bit weird because it does have sort of a slightly salty taste to it, if that would be the right word. But they usually see if they can, enhance the flavor in order to make it taste better the first time. So they get stuff like pineapple, mixed berry infused, chocolate infused. And as someone who personally really likes coconut water, that ruins it. That actually, well, I'm not saying that from like, a hoity-toity point of view. I'm just saying that those aren't very good. Like, some of them can be good if it becomes an acquired taste. Like, pineapple isn't bad. Mango is actually pretty good. But for the most part, like, starting out with the weird flavors, the enhanced versions of coconut water, or in this case, eggnog, is not the way to go. If you want to find out whether or not you like eggnog, there's two ways of going about it, in my opinion. One, you just try eggnog. In this case, there's different versions of this around the US I know of. I don't know what all they have elsewhere, if anything, like eggnog. But where I live right now, they have Kemp's Golden Eggnog. And this is personally my favorite kind. It's very basic, but it has the right sweetness. It has the right mix of all the different spices that go into it, most of which I don't actually know. But yeah, they do a good job there. So if you're going to try eggnog for the first time, I recommend just going with something basic. You may or may not like it, and whatever happens, that's entirely up to you. But if you have a chance and you have someone with the right ingredients, I recommend giving it a second try if you were curious, but it's just like there was just something about the eggnog you didn't care for. And this is where just a few slight enhancements come from, in my opinion, in order to make, in my opinion, the perfect eggnog, the perfect store-bought eggnog. And the ingredients that I'll be adding include some whipped cream, Ready Whip. I know a lot of people that use, or they prefer Cool Whip in most things over just regular whipped cream. This is my preference in this regard, so, do whatever you want if you're trying this out. And then also some ground cinnamon and some ground nutmeg. Now, and honestly, to the best of my knowledge, these might be the two actual primary spices that go into eggnog. I, again, don't know the actual ingredients that go into it. I've never made eggnog myself. But I will say one thing. With ground cinnamon, it's kind of hard to go wrong. Either you like cinnamon or you don't, so discount it if you wish. But for the most part, you're not going to find really any bad ground cinnamon out there. However, when it comes to nutmeg, what I have right here is a very cheap bottle of nutmeg, and it is inferior. It is not as good as the other stuff that we have here at the house. Now, I forgot that we actually had that stuff, or I wouldn't have bought this, but I'm going to use the inferior nutmeg because I want to see whether or not it actually affects the taste of, again, what I consider to be the perfect eggnog, in my opinion. So again, if you're going to get some nutmeg, don't go for the cheapest kind. At least, go a level or two above bottom. Unless you just absolutely can't afford it. I understand that. But, alright, so what we're going to do first is, of course, add the golden eggnog. And I know for most people, when it comes to mixing holiday drinks or whatever, you want to be as basic as possible, and I'm doing my best to keep this fairly basic. So the first thing we're going to do after pouring that in is we're going to add just a dash of cinnamon, just a tiny amount. And it's actually going to be very small amounts for both, but a small amount goes a long way, especially with cinnamon. So going to be very, very careful with this. Just tap the top of the bottle. Charlie's coming upstairs. Hey, buddy. All right, so I don't know if it can angle right to see there, but you should be able to see just the small amount of cinnamon that I added. And then here with the nutmeg, again, hopefully this doesn't affect the taste too much, but I'm just gonna put a small amount in, just a few little taps. Hey buddy, how's it going back there? Alright, so again, I added a little bit of nutmeg in there. I'll zoom in if I can. I don't know how visible it is, but you'll see that there's some slightly darker brown pieces in there, or well, powder granulates, shall we say. And that is the nutmeg that I've added. So at this point, you'll want to mix this in, and I would usually honestly go with a bigger glass, although I'm sure that this amount is probably what's considered more healthy, and probably more of the serving size that I should actually have typically. But yeah, that should be a good amount. Obviously, if you're drinking from a larger cup, I would recommend going with a little bit more ground cinnamon and nutmeg, but you know, just pace yourself at first to see if you can get the right consistency. All right, now at this point, we're going to add the whipped cream. And this is one of the reasons why I prefer the spray kind, and it's if you're able to angle it so that the whipped cream goes into the eggnog just a little bit, like it's not just resting on the top, but it goes at such a velocity that it actually penetrates the eggnog a little bit, like so. Alright, so as you can see there, it got a good amount of the whipped cream covering the top there. And then at this point, this is something I like to do. Again, if you're still just trying to get used to the flavor of eggnog, you don't have to worry about it. And this is also another reason why I'm trying out the cheap eggnog to see how it affects it. But on this one, like if you put a small amount on the eggnog the first time, put an even smaller amount on the actual whipped cream, because there's not going to be really anything to filter the spices for you when you actually drink this. So yeah, just a little tiny bit more cinnamon on the top there. There we go. Sorry for so many taps, it was just not wanting to move. But this, in my opinion, I know it's simple, it's silly, but this, in my opinion, is what makes for the perfect eggnog. Now, I do want to try it out since I'm using the very cheap nutmeg. Let's find out if it's as good. You know, it's strange. The nutmeg, the flavor is actually pretty similar to what I have with the, you know, slightly more expensive, or basically what we got from a Whole Foods, the ground nutmeg that's not the super cheap kind. But the thing that throws me off is, but especially because the nutmeg is right there on top of the whipped cream, it has this stronger scent to it that is a bit off-putting. Like, it almost smells a bit chemically, which sucks, because then it makes me want to hold my breath when I'm drinking this. But on the whole, like that aside, you know, using the cheap nutmeg, this, in my opinion, is what makes the perfect eggnog. Well, as I said before, the store-bought stuff straight out of the carton is perfect just the way it is. But if you want to really give eggnog a chance, if you really want to give yourself a real holiday treat, and especially if you already like eggnog, just do this. Add a little bit of cinnamon, a little bit of nutmeg, stir it in, just give it a good little stir so it mixes in, and then just that bit of whipped cream on top, and you have the perfect eggnog. At least in my opinion. What's this? Different shirt, different time of day? Yes, I am recording this at a different time. Now, some of you may be wondering, well, PapaKenn, what is your favorite way to have eggnog the alcoholic way? Because apparently that's the way a lot of people drink it. I, for one, have never been a huge fan of it, but keeping in mind, if you ever try this, make sure you are of drinking age. But if I were to have an eggnog, I would most likely, or an alcoholic eggnog, I would most likely add some dark rum. Ideally some spiced rum, because, you know, it goes ahead and adds some of those nice spices that are within the rum that you would be adding as I did in this video itself. And, I've never actually tried it with whipped cream. I just go with the regular kind itself. What do I have in this cup? Could it be alcoholic eggnog? Maybe. I don't know. Spicy. Anyway, everyone, thank you so much for being here. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Snack-Kenn. I am interested to hear what kind of eggnog recipes, I guess, you might have. You know what? Sometime, maybe next year, I will actually make some eggnog from scratch. I mean, why not? I love eggnog. But I hope you did enjoy this video. I would like to hear your own little combinations that help make eggnog perfect for you. But until then, I'm PapaKenn, and happy holidays, everyone.